What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Fanatic Journey. So today I want to talk to you about production numbers. Rivian came out with theirs, so now a lot of people want to know about Lucid. They're asking the $1,000,000 question. What is Q2 numbers going to look like? And also, are they going to achieve their end goal of 12 to 14,000? So I'm going to give you a good projection of what is going to happen and what Lucid needs to do. Before I get into any of that, making sure you guys hit that thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Greatly appreciate that. But with that, let's get right to it. Live ticker is going at the very bottom. I'm not necessarily going to talk on the price, but very much green. Very exciting day for Lucid, and welcome to the 19s once again. But on a side note though, just want to go through a couple different things, couple kind of housekeeping things. So looking here, Bears Workshop. This is a very good obviously indication of what a lot of people do use for kind of a good projection. I just want to bring this up because a lot of people have been kind of saying as far as how many numbers, a lot of people have been calculating it, and there is an estimate of roughly about 15 vehicles per day. That's what's being produced. So again, that's something very positive for us investors, a good benchmark to use. But overall, I'm just going to quickly flip to a fun Excel doc that I made. So you can see right here, it's a little bit confusing at first. I'm going to break it down for you. Ultimately, here's Q4 numbers, 125 vehicles delivered, Q1 360. And the reason why I'm using delivered on here versus actual production is because technically delivered is the only consistent information that we do have. They use that generally if it is Q4, within Q4 they say that. Similarly Q1, but when it comes down to production, they've been very inconsistent with that. So this is why I'm kind of using delivered versus production, but a little bit more explanation on why I'm doing that is because when it came down to, for instance, Q4 information, they gave how many vehicles were delivered in Q4, but as far as produced, they gave you the real-time information. So they gave you technically as of February the 28th, which technically is outside the parameters of Q4. So this is one of those things that technically has a little bit more inconsistencies. So again, just for transparency, but there is some things I just want to generally say as more of a housekeeping, because right now there is a lot of rumors as far as how many vehicles are being produced. And I think a lot of us really need to humor a lot of these actual rumors because most of them actually turn out to be very much accurate. And one example of that is during their recent recall, they had obviously cited 1,117 vehicles being affected in this recall. That gave us a good projection of how many vehicles they actually have produced or possibly even delivered. So at the end of the day, we had no idea as far as numbers, but there was a painter that did post something saying that they were at 1,100 vehicles. So I think a lot of these rumors, as far as what we see them as rumors, they are very much accurate. And the latest rumor is that we are at 2,600 vehicles for Q2. So I'm going to give you different projections, one of which is using that, one isn't. So you can see hypothetically 360 vehicles in Q1, which leaves 11,640 to reach our end goal, the basic 12,000. So again, it's one of those things. So factoring that in, we looking here at this column. So like I've always said in previous videos and earnings and live streams and things like that, you need to show an increase of a month-over-month ratio. So technically, given the benchmark that we do know, because during the previous earnings, they gave us this projection saying that 300 vehicles were actually delivered, 400 produced. But looking here, 34.5% of a month-over-month increase is what needs to be done for us to get to our goals at the end of the year. And that equates to 35 vehicles per day, or 36 if you want to round up. And that is obviously factoring in that there is 86 days in Q3, 92 in Q4, and you can see roughly about 81 vehicles per day for Q4. And that is for us to get to our end goal. So take that how you see that. Keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. This is only for entertainment purposes at the end of the day. Moving on. Technically, that is what we need to achieve to get our end goal. Now I want to plug in our assumed rumor, which is 2,600. That would drop it down to 9,040 vehicles that we need to produce in Q3 and 4. And you can look at this column right here. And potentially it is 28.6% of a month-over-month increase that we need to achieve. And ultimately, Peter did allude to basically both previous earnings that Q2, or the end of Q2, I should say, that is exactly when they're going to be ramping up production. So it does coincide with kind of these numbers, and it does show based on Rivian's previous earnings that if they can do it, we can easily do it, hands down. So a little bit more optimism if you ask me, but looking here, if you do assume that there is 2,600, that means we need to do 29 vehicles per day, or if you want to round up, 30 in Q3. which is technically not much whatsoever, and Q4 is roughly about 59 vehicles. So no matter what, if you do assume that 2600 or not, I think both are very much achievable. And I think what came out about Rivian that's given a lot of EVs a nice little rebound in the market, and there's a little bit more optimism, shows that if Rivian can do it, then Lucid can easily do it. So I think it's one of those piggybacking things, but again, it does hold out to be very much true and does coincide with what Peter said about the tail end of 2022 really ramping up. And personally, I don't think they would have cut it down to 12 to 14,000 if they could not achieve it. Keep in mind, these numbers are for the 12,000, so the bare minimum. Obviously, they could achieve a little bit more just by pushing it a little bit more, because technically they are going to be hiring 6,000 additional workers, which again is a whole nother shift. Again, pushing the production and deliveries and everything like that. And want to quickly go back to Bear's workshop. Just want to show you one quick thing. Looking at here, they are really pushing out a lot of vehicles. You can even see almost every flyover there is a semi there. So again, it goes to show that they are really pushing out their production, the deliveries. They want to get it out. And regardless, keep in mind, Lucid is within the first year of production, and they are for the most part kicking ass. And again, the takeaway is this is the only negative about Lucid, is their production or lack of production per se, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, I think this is why Lucid is a great buying opportunity, because the only negative to Lucid is that they're actually addressing that. So this is one thing I am a very big advocate of Lucid. I know what they can do in the future, and this is why this makes me very excited, especially looking at the Excel doc. Like I said, it goes to show that it's very achievable. Even 80 vehicles per day is hands down can be done without an issue, because based on even the amp where it's currently at, it was very much in line with the expectation and the capacity. But regardless of all that, AMP is really kicking ass. They're really building it very fast, and they're leasing and purchasing additional kind of spaces around the Arizona kind of state. So again, goes to show that they have a lot of things in the works, and Lucid is really achieving and wants to achieve all of its goals at the end of the year. Let me know your thoughts on Lucid in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Greatly appreciate that. And also with that, let me know your thoughts. Do you think these numbers are very much achievable? Do you think 81 vehicles per day in Q4 can be done? Do you think also that rumor of 2,600 vehicles for Q2 is accurate or not? Let me know your thoughts on that. Very curious to see what people are thinking about the production, because technically I did also do a poll, which obviously you guys know I love my polls, and it looks right here. Do you think Lucid is going to hit their 2022 production goals? 1,000 votes, 30% said yes, 55% said no, but they will become very close. 15% said no. Obviously nowhere close to that, but I think that there is going to be a little bit more of a finite ground here, because Peter has alluded to in previous earnings that there could potentially be things that come up, such as China, that could disrupt the end year production goals, because technically it did happen recently to Tesla about that. They are citing a lot of shutdowns because of China, and obviously that affected the overall production. Technically as well, Peter did allude to higher transportation costs, which nobody really likes. It doesn't help anyone with this higher inflation. And unfortunately, Lucid is kind of left holding the bag in this regard. But still, it is what it is, right? That's inflation. Everyone's hurting. Everyone's going through a lot of pain. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.